Welcome, listeners, to the shadowy crossroads where history and mystery converge, inviting you into a realm where the veil between our world and the unknown is perilously thin. Today, we journey back to the early 19th century, to a time when the frontier was not just a battleground of man against nature, but also the setting for man against the inexplicable. Our tale unfolds in the rolling hills of Tennessee, where the Bell family's dreams of a peaceful life in their new homestead were shattered by a presence so malevolent, its story echoes through the annals of American folklore even today. This is the tale of the Bell Witch, a saga of haunting that transcends the boundaries of the natural and ventures into the depths of the supernatural. As the sun dips below the horizon and darkness embraces the land, imagine the Bell family, isolated in their modest farmhouse, beginning to experience occurrences that defy explanation. Knockings on walls, the sound of chains dragged across floors, and whispers in the night that escalate into a nightmare of physical torment and psychological terror. The entity, known only as the Bell Witch, reveals itself with a chilling intimacy, speaking in hushed tones of malice and vengeance, its motives as murky as the shadows that dance in the flickering candlelight. In this podcast, we invite you to lean in closer as we unravel the mystery of the Bell Witch. With each episode, we'll delve deeper into the eerie events that plagued the Bell family, examining the thin line between legend and reality, and perhaps questioning the very nature of existence itself. Are you ready to explore the unknown? Are you prepared to question what lies beyond the edge of the tangible? Join us as we step into the haunting legacy of the Bell Witch of Tennessee. The story begins, as many do, with a family, a dream, and an unseen force determined to turn their lives into a waking nightmare. Let the journey commence. In the early 1800s, under the vast, uncharted skies of America's expanding frontier, John Bell and his family embarked on a journey fueled by hope and a promise of a new beginning. Leaving behind the familiar landscapes of North Carolina, they ventured into the heart of Tennessee, to the area known today as Adams. But then, it was simply part of the sprawling, untamed Red River settlement. Here, amidst the dense forests and fertile land, the Bells sought to carve out a piece of the American dream, unaware that their pursuit would lead them into a nightmare from which there was no waking. As the wheels of their wagons rolled across the rugged terrain, the Bells were filled with a sense of optimism. They were pioneers, after all, part of the bold lineage of early Americans who looked to the West for their fortunes and futures. Upon their arrival, John Bell and his family wasted no time. They toiled from sunrise to sunset, clearing the dense forests, planting crops, and building a homestead that would stand as a testament to their hard work and determination. Their efforts bore fruit, and before long, the Bell farm flourished, becoming a beacon of prosperity in the nascent community. The Bells quickly established themselves as respected members of their new community. Their farm was not just a source of sustenance. It was a gathering place where neighbors could come together, share stories, and lend a helping hand. John Bell, with his unwavering work ethic and keen sense of justice, became a figure of respect and authority among the settlers. His wife, U.C. Bell, with her kindness and nurturing spirit, became known for her generosity, often caring for the sick and aiding those in need. But as the Bell family settled into their new life, a sense of unease began to permeate their existence. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a whisper of wind that rustles the leaves but leaves no trace. Strange occurrences, too fleeting to be caught and too erratic to be explained, began to disrupt the harmony of their homestead. A door would slam shut with no one near, or the sound of footsteps would echo in empty rooms. At first, these incidents were dismissed as the quirks of a new home settling into the earth, the natural creaks and groans of wood and stone. However, as the days turned into weeks, the disturbances grew more frequent, more pronounced, and more unsettling. The once welcoming darkness of night became a canvas for an unseen artist, painting scenes of fear with invisible brushes. Whispers in the dark, the feeling of being watched, and the sense of an unseen presence lurking just beyond the veil of reality began to haunt the Bell family. Yet, amidst the growing fear, the Bells stood resolute, determined not to be driven from the life they had worked so hard to build. They clung to the hope that the disturbances were mere oddities, a phase that would soon pass. Little did they know, their ordeal was just beginning. For within the shadows of their new home, an entity had awoken, an entity that would come to be known as the Bell Witch. This malevolent spirit, with motives as dark as the night itself, had marked the Bell family for reasons unknown, setting the stage for a haunting that would etch itself into the annals of American folklore. So begins our tale, a story of hope and horror, of dreams and nightmares. As the Bell family found, sometimes the price of a new beginning is more than one bargains for, and the American dream can quickly become an American haunting. What was it that drew the ire of the Bell Witch? What malevolent force had the Bell family unleashed upon their homestead? Join us as we delve deeper into the mystery in the next chapter of our journey into the heart of darkness that surrounds the legend of the Bell Witch of Tennessee. The year was 1817, a year that would forever be etched in the annals of the supernatural, as the moment the Bell family's life turned from a dream into a waking nightmare. What began as isolated, curious incidents soon spiraled into a series of events so bizarre, so chilling, that they would challenge the very fabric of reality for the Bells. It started innocently enough, with knocking sounds that echoed through the dark, still nights, knocking on the doors, knocking on the walls, as if an unseen visitor was demanding entry into the sanctuary of their home. At first, these sounds were met with a rational attempt at explanation. Perhaps it was the wind, or perhaps some mischievous youths from the nearby settlement were playing pranks. But when the knocking persisted, growing in intensity and frequency, it became clear that no natural force was at work here. Then came the gnawing. The family would awaken to the eerie sound of something gnawing on the bedposts. The marks left behind were visible, tangible evidence of the invisible terror that stalked them. Yet, whenever they searched for the source of these disturbances, they found nothing. No preacher, no explanation, just the lingering sense of something amiss, something dreadfully wrong. As if the knocking and gnawing were not enough to fray the nerves of the Bell family, the appearance of strange animals on their property added another layer of fear and mystery. Creatures that defied explanation, and seemed not to belong to this world, began to manifest. Witnesses spoke of seeing a large dog with eyes that glowed with an unnatural light, a rabbit with a twisted and grotesque form, and birds of extraordinary size that cast ominous shadows as they circled above the farm. These animals, if they could indeed be called animals, appeared immune to the laws of nature, vanishing into thin air when confronted. The Bells tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, to continue their daily lives despite the growing sense of dread that enveloped their home. But as the phenomena escalated, so too did their fear. The children, once able to sleep soundly through the night, now lay awake, listening to the whispers in the walls and the footsteps of unseen entities that seemed to roam their home at will. The community around them began to take notice, with neighbors whispering of witchcraft and dark forces at work. Some offered help, while others shunned the Bells, fearing that whatever malevolent force tormented them might also turn its gaze outward. The line between friend and foe blurred, leaving the Bells isolated in their struggle against an unseen enemy. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, the haunting grew more intense, more personal. It was as if the entity, now known as the Bell Witch, was learning, adapting its methods to better torment its victims. What began with knocking and gnawing evolved into physical attacks and manifestations that defied all logic. In the heart of Tennessee, on a farm that should have been a haven of prosperity and happiness, the Bell family found themselves caught in a battle against an entity that seemed to feed on their fear. An entity whose motives remained as shadowy and ambiguous as the form it refused to reveal. This was no longer a story of pioneers conquering the wilderness. It was a tale of survival, of a family pitted against a force as old and as dark as the land itself. Join us in the next chapter as the haunting of the Bell family takes a sinister turn, with physical attacks and a voice that breaks the silence of the night, giving a new depth to the terror that haunts the Bell homestead. The Bell Witch is no longer a whisper in the darkness. It has a voice, and it seeks to be heard. As the haunting of the Bell family's homestead deepened, the disturbances that had once been mere harbingers of fear now crescendoed into a storm of supernatural fury. The entity, growing bolder and more malevolent with each passing night, turned its attention to the most vulnerable among the Bells, their children. It was in this shadowy theater of terror that the youngest daughter, Betsy, became the focal point of the witch's wrath. Imagine, if you will, the chilling scene. A young girl, barely on the cusp of womanhood, subjected to violent assaults by an assailant that remains unseen, unfathomable. Betsy's nights were marred by invisible hands that pulled her hair with such force that it seemed intent on tearing her very soul from her body. Slaps echoed through the room, leaving marks upon her skin, visible proof of the invisible terror that lurked in the corners of her world. These physical attacks were not just manifestations of violence. They were deeply personal affronts, designed to terrorize and to torment. But the Bell Witch's arsenal of horror was not limited to physical aggression. The entity began to manifest a voice that cut through the silence of the night like a knife. At first, it was nothing more than a whisper, a soft murmur that one might mistake for the wind. But as the days passed, this voice grew stronger, clearer, until it spoke with the authority of an unseen specter that had made the Bell homestead its domain. This voice was not content merely to speak. It sang, it taunted, and it mimicked the voices of community members with uncanny precision. Imagine the terror of hearing a loved one's voice, only to find they had not spoken, or the confusion of hearing your own words echoed back to you by an invisible mouth. The Bell Witch used its voice to sow discord and fear, to isolate the family further by making them question even the reality of their own senses. The entity's conversations were a mix of threats, taunts, and mysterious pronouncements, often speaking of past events and secrets it should have had no knowledge of. It seemed to possess an omniscience that defied explanation, a malevolent intelligence that delighted in the psychological torment of its victims. The witch's voice became a constant presence, a malevolent whisper in the ear of every member of the Bell family, reminding them that they were never alone, never safe. The phenomenon of the Bell Witch speaking was not confined to the shadows of the homestead. It began to interact with visitors, displaying a disturbing awareness of their lives and intentions. The entity would converse with guests, sometimes with courtesy, at other times with venomous spite, leaving those who came to the Bell farm with a deep sense of unease, a palpable reminder of their brush with the supernatural. As the entity's manifestations grew more sophisticated, so too did the fear it instilled. The Bell Witch had transcended the realm of mysterious disturbances to become a living nightmare, an ever-present voice that haunted not just the physical spaces of the Bell homestead, but the very minds of those it tormented. It was in this period of intense psychological and physical assault that the legend of the Bell Witch moved beyond the boundaries of local folklore to become a tale of horror whispered in hushed tones across the land. In this dark chapter of our story, we see the Bell family pushed to the brink, wrestling with forces that defy the natural laws of our world. As we delve deeper into the mystery of the Bell Witch, we must ask ourselves, what power does this entity hold? And what dark purpose drives its torment of the bells? Join us in the next chapter as we explore the motives of the witch and the escalating terror that threatens to consume the family whole. In the heart of the darkness that had enveloped the Bell family's existence, the entity that tormented them began to weave a narrative of its own origins, a narrative as chilling as it was enigmatic. It was during this time that the unseen force haunting the bells gave itself a name, or rather, it was given a name by those who whispered tales of its malevolence around flickering hearth fires. It became known as the Bell Witch, a moniker that would forever echo in the annals of American ghost stories. But who, or what, was the Bell Witch? The answer to that question remains as shadowy as the entity itself. The Bell Witch offered various accounts of its origins, each more mystifying than the last. On some nights, it claimed to be the spirit of a Native American, wronged and seeking retribution from beyond the grave. On others, it professed to be the witch of a disgruntled neighbor, a woman scorned by the community and consumed by vengeance. These stories, whether true or mere fabrications of a malevolent spirit, added layers of complexity to the haunting, leaving the Bell family and their neighbors ensnared in a web of fear and speculation. The witch's intentions, however, were far clearer than its origins. It expressed a sinister focus on two members of the Bell family in particular, John Bell, the patriarch, and his youngest daughter, Betsy. The entity's malevolent fixation on John Bell was chillingly explicit. It declared its intention to kill him, a pronouncement that sent waves of terror through the Bell household and the surrounding community. The reasons for this vendetta were as murky as the witch's origins, leaving many to speculate about past sins and hidden grievances that might have sparked such a deadly accession. For Betsy Bell, the witch's torment took on a different, though no less harrowing, form. The entity seemed determined to disrupt every facet of her life, casting a dark shadow over her youth and innocence. The witch's interference reached a sinister peak with its focus on Betsy's engagement to a local boy, a union it sought to undermine through a campaign of terror. The entity's attacks on Betsy, both physical and psychological, became increasingly vicious, as if it sought to isolate her from any semblance of normalcy or happiness. The witch's ability to speak, to communicate its malevolent intentions so clearly, added a terrifying dimension to the haunting. No longer were the Bells plagued by an anonymous force. They were the targeted victims of an entity that possessed not only power, but also a voice with which to articulate its malevolent desires. The community around them, once skeptical, began to view the haunting with a mix of fear, fascination, and revulsion. The Bell Witch had become a living, speaking enigma, one that defied not only explanation, but also any attempts to quell its wrath. As the Bell Witch articulated its intentions and recounted tales of its alleged origins, the air around the Bell homestead grew heavier, charged with a sense of impending doom. The entity's declarations were not idle threats. They were harbingers of darker days to come. The witch's focus on John and Betsy Bell, the reasons for its hatred, and the truth behind its origins, remained shrouded in mystery, enveloping the family and their community in a fog of fear and uncertainty. In this chapter of our tale, we find ourselves peering into the abyss, confronting the dark heart of the Bell Witch haunting. As the entity's intentions become clear, we are left to ponder the nature of vengeance, the power of unseen forces, and the fragility of the human spirit when faced with the incomprehensible. Join us in the next chapter as we delve deeper into the darkness, exploring the witch's torment of John Bell and the tragic culmination of its sinister campaign. In the shadowed chapters of the Bell Witch saga, there unfolds a tale of suffering and malevolence that is as heart-wrenching as it is inexplicable. The target of this dark chapter was none other than John Bell, the patriarch of the family, a man who had sought nothing more than a peaceful life for his kin. Yet, It was he who became the focal point of the witch's most sinister intentions. As the haunting progressed, John Bell began to experience mysterious and troubling symptoms. It started with facial twitching, involuntary spasms that would contort his features without warning. These spasms were soon accompanied by a more alarming affliction: difficulty swallowing. This symptom, seemingly mundane at first, grew progressively worse, transforming the simple act of eating and drinking into an ordeal of agony and frustration. The Bell Witch, with a voice that had become all too familiar to the terrified family, claimed responsibility for these ailments. It spoke with a chilling glee of its influence over John Bell's declining health, leaving the family in no doubt that the patriarch's suffering was the result of supernatural torment. The entity's delight in his deterioration was palpable, a dark cloud that hung over the homestead, suffocating any remnants of hope. As the months passed, John Bell's condition worsened. The once strong farmer, respected and admired by his community, was reduced to a shadow of his former self. He became increasingly debilitated, his body racked by symptoms that no doctor could explain and no medicine could alleviate. The physical manifestations of the witch's curse were clear for all to see, but it was the psychological torment that cut the deepest. John Bell was trapped in a living nightmare, one from which there was no escape. The witch's campaign against John Bell reached its tragic climax in 1820. After years of suffering and torment, John Bell's body could withstand no more. His death was not a release, but a final act of cruelty in the witch's prolonged assault. The entity did not simply fade into the shadows with John Bell's passing. Instead, it openly celebrated his death, boasting of its role in his demise. The community, once skeptical of the supernatural elements at play, could no longer deny the dark forces that had besieged the Bell family. The death of John Bell marked a somber milestone in the haunting. It was a stark reminder of the power the Bell Witch claimed to wield, a power that could reach beyond the veil of the supernatural to claim a human life. The family, already worn down by years of spectral assaults, was left to mourn their patriarch under the shadow of the witch's triumph. In this dark chapter of our story, we confront the unimaginable, a force so malevolent that it delights in the suffering and death of its victims. The Bell Witch's campaign against John Bell is a tale of supernatural vendetta that challenges our understanding of the boundaries between life and death, between the physical world and the realm of spirits. As we delve deeper into the mystery of the Bell Witch, we are left to ponder the nature of evil and the strength required to face it. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the aftermath of John Bell's death and the lingering shadows that continued to haunt the Bell family. The story of the Bell Witch is far from over. Its echoes resonate through the corridors of time, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks just beyond the edge of the known. In the grim tapestry of the Bell Witch saga, the death of John Bell weaves a particularly dark thread, a mystery wrapped in shadow and marked by an ominous artifact that would become a symbol of the witch's malevolence. It was in the wake of John Bell's demise, as his family mourned and the community whispered of curses and dark spirits, that a chilling discovery was made, a discovery that would etch this haunting into the annals of the supernatural as a tale without parallel. Found in the Bell household was a vial containing a mysterious black liquid, an object out of place amidst the grief and turmoil. The family, already besieged by years of torment, regarded this vial with a mix of fear and fascination. The liquid within was unlike anything they had seen, a dark elixir that seemed to absorb the light around it, a physical manifestation of the darkness that had consumed their lives. The Bell Witch, never one to retreat into the shadows, silently claimed responsibility for the vial and its contents. With a voice that had become all too familiar to the Bell family, it declared that the black liquid was poison, the very agent of John Bell's untimely demise. This assertion cast a new light on the nature of the haunting, suggesting a level of interaction with the physical world that defied all known bounds of the supernatural. The witch's claim was not merely a boast, but a statement of power, a declaration that it could reach beyond the ethereal to inflict harm upon the living. John Bell's death, marked by the discovery of the mysterious poison, stands as a singular event in the annals of American history. It is, perhaps, the only case where a spirit or entity is credited with causing a man's death, a notion that challenges our understanding of the possible interactions between the spiritual and the material worlds. This event blurred the lines between legend and reality, forcing all who heard the tale to confront the limits of their beliefs. The vial and its black liquid became a symbol of the haunting, a tangible link to the intangible force that had tormented the Bell family. The community around them, already ensnared in the web of the witch's influence, viewed this development with a mix of horror and awe. The implications were unsettling. If a spirit could exert such power over the physical realm, what hope did the living have against such an adversary? In the aftermath of John Bell's death, the family was left to ponder the nature of the entity that had so irrevocably changed their lives. The Bell Witch had not simply haunted them. It had crossed a boundary that many believed inviolable. The discovery of the vial and its dark contents served as a grim reminder of the witch's vendetta against John Bell, a vendetta that had culminated in an act of supernatural violence unprecedented in the lore of the American frontier. As we close this chapter on the darkest moment of the Bell Witch haunting, we are left to reflect on the nature of evil and the power of the unseen. The death of John Bell, marked by a vial of mysterious poison, remains a haunting question in the story of the Bell Witch, a question that lingers like a shadow at the edge of light. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the aftermath of this tragedy and the legacy of a haunting that continues to echo through the corridors of time. A reminder of the thin veil that separates our world from the unknown. In the aftermath of John Bell's death, a palpable change descended upon the Bell family homestead. The dark cloud of malevolence that had enveloped their lives for so long began to dissipate, as if the witch's vendetta against John Bell had been the fuel for its haunting fire. The oppressive atmosphere of fear and despair that had hung over the family started to lift, giving way to a cautious hope that the worst of their nightmare might finally be behind them. Yet, the Bell Witch was not content to fade into obscurity without leaving behind a final, chilling promise. With a voice that had tormented the Bell family for years, the entity declared its intention to return in 7 years. This pronouncement hung in the air like a spectral warning, a reminder that the entity's malevolent presence was not vanquished, but merely dormant. True to its word, the witch reputedly made its return 7 years later. However, this resurgence was marked by a significant decrease in both frequency and intensity. The haunting manifestations that had once terrorized the Bell family and their community were now sporadic echoes of the past, as if the entity's power had waned or its interest had shifted. The family, now seasoned in the ways of the supernatural, met these occurrences with a resilience born of their years of suffering. The community around them, too, viewed these events with a wariness tempered by the passage of time. But the witch's promises did not end with its return 7 years after John Bell's death. In a move that would ensure its legend would endure for generations, the entity vowed to come back once more in 107 years. This enigmatic promise left a lingering question in the hearts and minds of those who had witnessed the haunting and those who would come after. Would the Bell Witch return to fulfill its vow? Or had its power finally ebbed away into the annals of folklore? The year marked for the witch's prophesied return came and went with no significant events documented, leading many to speculate about the nature of the haunting and the truth behind the witch's promises. Was the decrease in activity a sign that the witch had moved on, its connection to the Bell family and their land finally severed? Or was it merely biding its time, gathering strength for a return that would once again plunge the descendants of the Bell family into a nightmare? The Bell Witch haunting, with its peaks of terror and valleys of silence, became a legend that transcended the boundaries of the Bell family's experience. It became a tale whispered in the dark, a cautionary story of a malevolent force that could strike without warning and disappear just as quickly, leaving only fear and unanswered questions in its wake. As we close this chapter on the Bell Witch saga, we are left to ponder the nature of hauntings and the mysteries that lie beyond the veil of our understanding. The Bell Witch's promise to return, whether fulfilled or not, serves as a reminder of the enduring power of legend and the unbreakable bond between the past and the present. In the quiet moments, when the wind whispers through the trees and the shadows seem to move of their own accord, one can't help but wonder if the Bell Witch is merely waiting, watching for the right moment to emerge once more from the shadows. Join us in the next chapter as we explore the legacy of the Bell Witch haunting, a story that continues to captivate and terrify, a testament to the enduring allure of the unknown and the unexplained. As the curtain falls on the direct encounters of the Bell family with the entity known as the Bell Witch, we turn our gaze to the indelible mark this story has etched upon a fabric of American folklore and a collective imagination of generations. The haunting of the Bell family, a saga woven from threads of fear, mystery, and the unexplained, has transcended its origins in Adams, Tennessee, to become a cornerstone of ghostly lore in the United States. The legacy of the Bell Witch extends far beyond the events that transpired in the early 19th century. It has inspired a rich tapestry of cultural expressions, from books that seek to unravel the mystery of the haunting to movies that reimagine the terror of the Bell family's experiences. The story has been retold, reinterpreted, and reinvented countless times, each iteration adding layers to the legend, each version exploring the dark corners of fear and fascination that the Bell Witch represents. The tale of the Bell Witch has also become a focal point for research into paranormal phenomena. Investigators, drawn by the haunting's historical significance and the enduring mystery of the witch's identity and motives, have delved into the archives, searching for clues that might shed light on one of America's most chilling ghost stories. The story challenges researchers to confront the boundaries between myth and reality, encouraging a deeper examination of the evidence and testimonies that have survived through the years. Perhaps the most tangible aspect of the Bell Witch's legacy is the land itself. Adams, Tennessee, once the backdrop for the haunting, has become a pilgrimage site for those fascinated by the paranormal. Visitors are drawn to the area, seeking to walk in the footsteps of the Bell family, to stand on the ground where the unseen terror unfolded. The Bell Witch Cave, a natural feature that has become inextricably linked with the legend, beckons the curious and the brave, offering a visceral connection to the story that has captivated so many. The cave, shrouded in mystery and speculation, serves as a physical reminder of the haunting, a place where the veil between past and present feels remarkably thin. Those who venture into its depths often speak of an eerie feeling, a sense of being watched, as if the spirit of the witch still lingers, guarding its secrets. Whether these experiences are the product of imagination or something more remains a question without an answer, a puzzle that adds to the allure of the Bell Witch legacy. In the end, the story of the Bell Witch is more than a tale of supernatural terror. It is a mirror reflecting our own fears, curiosities, and the timeless human fascination with the unknown. It challenges us to question the nature of reality, to ponder the existence of forces beyond our understanding, and to consider the possibility that some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. As we conclude our journey into the heart of this enduring legend, we are left with the echo of the Bell Witch's whisper through time, a reminder that some stories, like some spirits, refuse to be forgotten. The legacy of the Bell Witch haunting continues to inspire, terrify, and intrigue, a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring allure of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of the known. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the shadows and whispers that define the Bell Witch saga. May the story leave you with a curiosity stirred, a mind open to the mysteries of our world, and a cautious reminder that some tales, once heard, linger long in the memory, whisperers from the past that resonate through the ages.